Welcome to the Calibration Circle. This is an opportunity for us as professionals to come together. Those of us who seek to align our personal values with our professional practices, to foster balance, to foster, more effectiveness and authenticity in both our work and our life. The calibration circles are created with the idea of empowering a supportive community where we can deepen our self-awareness and we can really cultivate meaningful connections with each other and with these topics while we're exploring strategies that help us achieve more clarity and resilience and happiness and joy. We've got the happiness and joy person here with us. Why I smiled when I added that biz of happiness, but we're going to get to that. So the calibration circle these are monthly 90-minute sessions where we feature a different guest expert each time who's going to cover topics like mindfulness or leadership or somatic practices, different personal growth and self-care topics. And these sessions aim to help us, basically, I heard it the other day, instead of balance, it was neutral, like to achieve neutral. And I kind of liked that, like, because balance is, anyway, if that lands for you. It's a space for us to recharge, for us to grow and to be able to continue to thrive while we build a trusted network of like-minded colleagues and professionals and friends. So the format of our sessions, the first half is going to be educational in nature, and we'll be recording this, and this will be available on the website, Conscious Connection Hub. And the second half will not be recorded. So if you're wondering what's happening in the second half, be sure you join us, and you can find out more at calibrationcircle.com. The second half is your time to mastermind, to network, to continue to explore these different concepts. So I'm really glad you're here. And I'm really excited about today because I know it's going to be a powerful insight session because we have a special guest, Dr. Tarryn MacCarthy, who is a beloved member of our community, who has been an educator at our expansion experience meetings for a couple of years now, and who we all look to for an example to follow, truly, as well as for her. So take that in, girl, it's true.
So kind, so kind.
As well as for the deep level of understanding that you have about how our minds work and how we can utilize what nature gives us, the way we're wired to be able to create happier, more peaceful, more significant lives. So thank you, Tarryn, for being here today.
Thank you so much for welcoming me to the Calibration Circle. I'm always honored to be supporting and serving this incredible community that you're creating. Thank you.
Thank you. I think of calibration circle kind of like we're sitting around the fire. So as we sit around the fire, this group of us, I would love to have just kind of a little banter back and forth here. We're kind of doing this podcast style. And I would start us out by asking for you to give us a little bit of background on what brings you to speak on the topic of our session today, which is your body, not your mind, is running the show. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, absolutely. So thank you again. And to everyone watching this, welcome. Welcome, because you're in the right place at the right time. So just take a load off, put the day behind you, brush it off energetically. This time is for you. This space is for you. This is a moment for you to just have some deeper insight for yourself and some deeper discovery, which is really each of our life's purpose. But I'm going to get into that later. I am an orthodontist, a transformational mindset and stress management coach, and keynote speaker, author, and a mom. Very importantly, a mom. And I've been working in dentistry and coaching over 25 years. And what I know to be true is, especially women and true for all leaders, is that we're incredibly dedicated and hardworking. We know how to fix things, we manage things, we get things done. We're very good at doing. And often behind the scenes, many of us feel like we're running on empty.
Mm.
We try to, bury that nagging feeling often that we're feeling disillusioned, that little bit of disillusionment or frustration or feeling like just not as good as we want it to be, or even to the point of feeling overwhelmed or exhausted. And we do so with things like new systems or new software or new gimmicks or new purchases or new office managers.
Yeah.
And what we find is those band-aids just aren't sustainable. And they don't, they might work for a short time and then we get back into that exhaustion, that rut of just constantly doing. And so what I do is I coach specifically women dentists on how to stop doing and how to start being, how to feel good, how to redefine success, not in terms of a number in your bank account or a number of patients in your schedule for the day, but how to redefine it on how good you can feel. And the truth is that it's not about working harder. It's about redefining what success looks like on your terms. It's
Mm.
about coming back to yourself.
Mm. That is, I love that. It just feels easier just even to think that through.
Yeah, I think we tell ourselves that there's so much hard work to do.
Yeah.
And the truth is that that incredible capacity and capability got you really far. And I think that sometimes confuses us. We think, oh my gosh, I worked so hard to get here. Look at everything I've accomplished and accumulated and achieved. And it took really hard work. And we get a lot of that programming from the people who love us most in the world, from our upbringing, from our friends, from, social media. We get this constant message of when you work hard, you achieve. When you put in the time, when you put in the effort, that's when you finally get the outcome. And there comes a time where, after doing so much hard work, you realize it's a constant treadmill. It's a never ending treadmill. When you get into the hard work, consistently efforting and overworking, overproducing, it becomes almost an addiction and it never satiates. It never gets to the point of, oh, I'm finally here. And we actually end up putting it off. We tell ourselves, I'll rest when, and we make these crazy goal points of, "Oh, I'll rest when I finally get to X number of dollars in my bank account," or
Mm.
I'll finally rest when I get to the summer. Or we create these arbitrary goals and we lose sight of the fact that in practicing that delaying of satisfaction, delaying of feeling good, we're actually losing the ability to feel good. We actually stop flexing that muscle.
Yeah.
And then when we finally get there, it's like that goalpost, we just kick it further, that
Yeah.
$100,000 you told yourself in the bank account, when I finally make $100,000, I'll start taking it easy. Well, that comes and goes. And then it's the next, and it's the $200,000. Then it's the three. That goalpost keeps getting kicked further and further down the line.
Mm. What a juicy place for us to start.
Oh, good.
I have some questions. Do you
Yes.
mind if I jump in? Because I know we want to get to how it's our body and not our mind
Yeah.
as runs the show. So maybe we could start with talking about how my one, I'm wondering, how does stress impact our decision-making abilities?
Yeah, thank you. And this is such a perfect um, lead into that question because, as you can imagine, when we're on this go, 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 perform, accomplish, productivity treadmill, what happens is our bodies, our nervous systems actually are in a state of fight or flight.
Mm.
And
Mm.
we don't think we're there because it becomes habituated. It becomes a new norm. It feels normal. You know, when you, this, I was just talking about this to someone today. Right now, I live in Maine. And finally, spring is whispering. It's saying, I'm coming. There's a little, it's sunny today and it's in the high 40s. It's like, oh my gosh, we're almost there. And I know it's like
It's
90
like
when
almost
it's warm.
100 here.
I know, it's crazy. But I'll tell you, on these days when you get outside and the sun is shining on you, you realize, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I didn't realize how bad I felt. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that I was getting a little low and down. But when I'm in the sun, suddenly I'm outside, I'm moving my body. And you know that feeling when you're like, oh, I didn't realize I was feeling sick, but I
Especially
feel it, right?
spring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially spring. So we don't even realize when our bodies are in a chronic state of fight or flight.
Yeah.
And our bodies were never meant to be in a chronic state of fight or flight. We look at, I love using deer. We have a lot of deer in our yard. And, you know, we see deer, they caught in the headlights, that fight, flight, or freeze response. Then when they get caught in the headlights of the approaching car and then they take off, the cortisol and adrenaline in their bodies is designed to get them out of harm's way. But 30 seconds later, they're chomping on the grass on the side of the road like nothing happened. Like, oh, I'm back to just eating, rest and digest. And as humans, what what is different between us and animals is that a single thought can put our bodies into fight or flight.
Hmm.
So as soon as we're out of danger, we perpetuate that state of fight or flight by perseverating on the stressful thing that just happened. So here's an example. I'll use it from the dental world, but it really could be any leader of a business or entrepreneur or leader of their teams. You have this day and the one thing went wrong. There was that one patient that really you wished it went differently, or you had a conversation with somebody and you, man, maybe you reacted a little bit off color and you wish you could take it back, or they said something and it really hurt. And on the way home, now you're thinking about it. And then you rehash it. And then you call your friend. You're like, can I just tell you what happened today? Can you just, is it me? Am I crazy? And you relive it. And then you lie in bed and you think, if I had said this, right? We've
Right.
all lived this. Your body, what's happening is your body is staying in this state of perpetual stress because our bodies don't know the difference between what's actually happening and what we're envisioning or creating in our minds. So your body ends up running the show. What I mean by that is that state of fight or flight, that animal that fled out of the way of the oncoming traffic, your body is now poised for fight or flight or freeze. And when that happens, we cut off the ability to access executive function. There's no need for us to be creative problem solvers. There's no need for us to be compassionate. There's no need for us to be, starting new tasks or organizing when we're running away from something. All that your body cares about is getting you to safety. And when, as leaders, we end up chronically living in that place of needing to find safety, it actually limits our ability to access the beautiful parts of
Yeah.
our brains that we really want to tap into in order to create big, bold, successful businesses or deep connected relationships, because we're actually biologically stopping ourselves from accessing those places.
As a creative, I totally get that. Like when you're really stressed, right? It's like you just it feels compressing.
And let's use that as an example, because if you think about it, the last time you had a brilliant idea for your business was most likely not when you were sitting at the computer trying to come up with one. It was probably out on a hike, standing in the shower, looking out over a beach or a vista. It was your brilliant brilliance and your creativity happens when your body is in a place of rest and calm and parasympathetic calm. And the really cool thing is, once we know that, we can start tapping into it at any point. We don't have to wait to get to the beach. We don't have to wait to get to stand in the shower. Once we learn that it's actually our body that's running the show, we get to bring our bodies to that place at different points during the day, and just being really keyed in on your own body and what it's experiencing. Yeah.
So let's make sure we can like condense this idea of what you mean when you say your body, not your mind, is running the show. So we talked about fight, flight, freeze. We talked about, the how it kind of like closes us off. Um, is there more you want to say about that piece around what it means when your body, not your mind, is running the show?
Yeah, so and there's so much.
Yeah,
Another component of it is we become reactive as opposed to responsive. It's that
yeah.
knee-jerk reaction, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's because your body is creating that state for you.
Mm.
So all those moments where maybe you said something you really wish you hadn't said, or you made a quick decision, or you sent that email real fast, that's actually not your conscious mind thinking, this is a great idea. I'm going to send this email immediately. It's actually your body standing up for you and saying, we're in danger. Let's just get this over with. Let's rip the band-aid off. Let's address this really fast. Or let's throw out a snide comment because we need to protect ourselves. We're in fight. So what fight or flight looks like can be, slightly aggressive tone. It can be impatience.
Yeah.
It can be blame. Trying to find blame is a form of what I refer to as fight, because blame is placing anger towards somebody and resentment. Or another way that it could show up in the freeze form is being quiet, not speaking up, not saying what you really wish you could say, not suppressing yourself, or not allowing yourself to be seen. Those are all examples of freeze. And then there's a fourth one that's often not talked about, and that is fawn. And if you imagine, fawning is when you're begging someone to please take mercy on you or love you. So what
Mm.
that looks like in dentistry is maybe we overgive, we people please, we say yes when we really don't have any energy left to do another thing. Or as I did when I first opened my practice, everyone got a discount for their dentistry. I gave discounts to every person because I was in need of that validation. Please like me, please accept my treatment plan. And that fawning was a perfect example of my body not feeling safe. So,
Mm.
safety, it turns out, is actually one of our greatest strengths. Is when we can create a sense of safety in our body, then we're not feeling the need to run or freeze or plead our aggressor, our perceived aggressor, to to love us or to accept us.
So when we talk about fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and you shared some examples that feel like those might be ways that we could see in our work environment as
Mhm.
professionals in either dentistry or beyond, as business owners or team members, professionals, around leadership and other ways. Um, how how do you see this showing up in those professional settings?
Yeah, that's exactly in those professional settings. I think, especially in leadership. One of the other ways is, as we all know, as great leaders, we can't do it alone. So many of us need to build team and
Yeah.
support. But something that many people struggle with is conscious delegation, conscious trust of team members. I know
Mhm.
I experienced this. Like, I would give tasks and then I'd quickly run in and do them myself. You know that old saying, if you want a job done, you do it yourself. I mean, I really believe that. And I was constantly feeling frustrated with team members when they weren't doing it quite the way I did. That was a great example of being in that state of dysregulation. So that's another word you might hear is
Mhm.
nervous system dysregulation. And
Yeah.
what that just means is your nervous system is on the alert, right? You're in fight or flight. That's all it means. It means it's not in a calm, safe state. And so in leadership, it becomes very difficult, number one, to delegate, and number two, to trust. Because when you're in that place of safety and calm, we don't blow things out of proportion. We don't make mountains out of molehills. We realize that everything's actually going to be okay. And when we can offer that sense of safety, we actually empower our team members to feel more valued, to feel more capable, and they actually rise to the occasion. So this nervous system regulation is actually critical component of successful leadership. Now, you
Mm.
asked that about running a business, but it's also a really important part of fostering deeper personal connection
Oh,
as
okay.
well. Yeah, it's been a huge, trust me, I wrote this one article, um, taking a breath, which breathing and breath work is one of the ways we'll talk about to regulate your nervous system. But I wrote one article that said, taking a breath saved me from getting sued, which is a true story about a patient who was very unhappy. And I took a breath to regulate and was
Wow.
able to communicate in a way that was de-escalated the situation. But I also wrote an article, taking a breath saved my marriage. And
Mm.
that's true too. Because when we get into this place of fight or flight in our bodies, we start saying things and acting and behaving in ways that are not congruent with our higher self, with our deeper values, because we're literally fighting for our lives. Your body starts thinking that you're not safe. And
Mm.
we can't access that place of congruence with who we actually are at a higher level.
And that is the nervous system dysregulation we're talking about. So how do we become aware of that? How do we recognize that we're dysregulated?
Yeah, that's the best question because right there, that's the superpower. When
Mm.
you start becoming conscious, aware
I love
of
that word.
your, I know you do, and I do too. And what it is just beginning to witness yourself.
Yeah.
That's really all it takes. So I teach my clients to be what I call a non-judgmental observer of themselves. And it's it's I teach them to form this kind of holographic version of themselves. And she
Mm.
travels with me everywhere I go. And
Mm.
she's just very present and aware and completely non-judgmental. So if I snap at my office manager, she's just kind of there to be like, oh, isn't that interesting? And that's the term I like to use to take away that judgment, that self-judgment, because we immediately want to self-protect and say, oh my gosh, I feel so terrible. But in doing so, we stay in that fight or flight state. So the phrase I like to teach is, isn't that interesting? So once you recognize, oh, isn't that interesting? I just snapped at my office manager. Or, isn't that interesting? I notice my heartbeat is racing. My heart is racing. We start to get more keyed into our bodies. One of the things that when we're on constant go, go, go mode, we actually stop listening to our bodies. We live from the neck up.
Right.
And I know I've shared this before at Expansion, but so many of us can relate to that moment at 5:10, the end of the day, when your bladder is about to burst and you feel like you can't make it to the bathroom fast enough, and you realize it didn't just happen like this. Your
No,
bladder had slowly
it's
filled.
lunch.
Yeah, since lunch, but you weren't paying attention. You lost connection to your body.
For sure.
So, and that's just a very physical way, or even lunch, right? You didn't eat lunch, so now you're standing in the pantry eating everything in sight because you're actually starving, but you didn't go from full to starving. You actually went offline. You actually disconnected from your body for several hours. And
Mm.
so what we start to do is start slowing down and paying attention to our bodies. What are the cues that my body is are sending me right now, and my actions? So just taking a moment and just realizing, oh, wait a minute, I'm a little hot, or my heart is racing, or isn't that interesting? My breathing is really shallow right now.
Mhm.
Just paying attention to your body is really the first step because, as I said, your body is running the show. So, in order to be aware of that, we have to start paying attention to the cues our body is giving us.
I love that phrase. Well, isn't that interesting? Because it could apply to so much. Like our shower door is breaking on our in our bathroom. It's like this gonna be a project, right? Because it's like all connected in the wall, and
Yeah.
being able to even to look at something like that and say, well, isn't that interesting? Or I've heard people say something like, well, good, a new thing, something new to want, something new to materialize, to attract. So I hear you saying, well, isn't that interesting, as maybe an easy practice or an easy strategy we can use to help us stress out that dysregulated nervous system. Are there other practices to
Yeah,
help with that?
absolutely. I'm going to just give you a little different perspective about
Yeah.
that
About
shower.
the shower door?
Yeah,
Please do. And if you know a good plumber.
I will. That's awesome. Um, So it isn't so much about the shower door thinking that that's interesting, although I love that. It's more about recognizing your body's response to the broken shower door.
Yes,
Oh, isn't it interesting that my body went eh, constricted and tight when I thought about the shower door? Isn't
that's
that?
a great clarification.
Yeah, yeah. It's more about
Our
really paying
response
attention to your response, right?
or a reaction.
Yeah, or isn't that interesting? That client didn't accept my offer, and now I'm thinking about, I don't know, money, or I'm worried about money, or I'm worried about not being good enough. Isn't
Mm.
that interesting that? So it's just really paying attention to the cues that your body is sending in response to the events outside of.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
a really good clarification.
Yeah. Because here's the fascinating thing. Events outside of you, and this is going to be a wild concept, are inherently neutral.
Yeah.
They're completely neutral. And that feels so uncomfortable to hear. But anything that happens outside of you is neutral. It's actually not good or bad, it just is.
Yeah.
And that feels so difficult to access in the beginning. But once we recognize, wow, the way I allow my body to respond shapes how I view that situation. So here's a great example. I'll never forget during 9/11 or after 9/11, there was all this, you know, anti-Muslim propaganda. There was a lot of fear. There was a lot of people pitting people against others in
Yeah.
the United States. And then there was a voice that I noticed, I don't remember who it was, somebody on Facebook probably, who said, wow, what an awesome opportunity to see people helping people. And those two perspectives were polar opposite. Polar opposite. There was the voice of fear, and then there was the voice of, wow, there's an opportunity. People are hurting, and there are people rising to the occasion, flocking to help them out. And look in your community where there are people standing up and supporting one another and helping one another. Same situation,
Yeah.
same event, two very different perspectives and two very different responses in your body.
Right.
And when we learn, oh my gosh, I'm actually the steward of my body. When I can get to a place of feeling calm, despite anything in my external situation, I actually create my own reality. So this concept was brought to my awareness by Viktor Frankl. And Viktor Frankl, for those of you who don't know, is Auschwitz survivor. And he was 16 years old in the concentration camp, living in like the worst possible atrocities, watching people being murdered in front of his eyes, feeling like, any day could be his last day. And even he, in that situation, he came out of there with this beautiful philosophy. And that is that between a stimulus and a response, so between an event and how I respond to it, there is a space.
Mm.
And in that space lies our ability to choose. And in that choice lies our freedom. So, speaking again to the importance of slowing down and taking a moment to bring your body back down to calm. All that space is allowing you to stop over functioning and doing and running on that treadmill and just coming back into your body and recognizing, okay, in this moment, I'm safe. Can I bring my body, my nervous system back into regulation so that I can have a conscious choice over my perspective? I can have a conscious choice over my next step, my next action, my next thought, and not just allow my body to be leading the show because it feels like it's in a place of danger.
Mm.
99% of the time, the danger is not imminent. 99% of the time, it's not actually even dangerous. It's something we're creating in our minds. And I know this feels so difficult to hear when so many of us feel fear at the moment. But the reality is, recognizing your body is safe in that moment allows you to better access that part of your brain that can have creative problem solving to take aligned action.
Yeah, that's so powerful.
Yes, it's
So
big.
how do we institute these habits? So
Yeah.
we're learning how to recognize. Is it just a matter of the intention and the over and over and like just like we know to get up and brush our teeth and floss and like because it was what we learned. Like how do we go from there to where we can institute this?
Yeah, awesome. So the awareness is step one,
Yeah,
and that's a pretty powerful place to be because
really.
it really is.
Hmm. Agreed. Because a lot of
Because,
people don't have that skill yet and aren't aware, and their bodies just like they're hijacked.
thank you. They're hijacked. Their bodies are running the show. They're not even aware that their bodies are running the show. They've got these blinders on, and people can live their whole lives that way.
Right.
Their entire lives without the realization that they actually have the power to choose.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Really. And
Yeah.
there's freedom, there's hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In any situation, in any situation. So that's the first step. The second step is really learning what brings your body safety. And
Mm.
this is where, in all my years of coaching my clients, I learned that our mindset is not enough. It's so good, and having great mindset is so important. And I still teach this all the time. I'm a transformational mindset coach. And it's not enough. We have to learn how to regulate our bodies. And the really cool thing is, when you do that, the mindset work becomes so much more tangible and sustainable and empowering. So, what we get to do is learn what feels good for my body. How do I bring my body back to a place of safety? And once we realize, oh, it's the vagus nerve, it's the parasympathetic nervous system that I'm trying to activate. So let me take a step back. Fight or flight is sympathetic nervous system.
Right.
Parasympathetic is rest and digest. That's when your body feels safe to digest. Go back to that deer on the side of the highway. He's already gone back to parasympathetic. He's eating. His body's digesting. Your body sends blood back to your internal organs. So when you're in stress, sympathetic, the blood goes to all your extremities, to your muscles, because I got to run. I got to get out of here. When we have parasympathetic, the blood actually comes back to our internal organs, and now we can actually digest food. We can actually calm down, slow down. Sympathetic makes your heart beat faster because I got to get ready to fly or fight. Parasympathetic brings your heart rate down. So knowing this, we actually get to use our bodies to reverse engineer. Okay, right now, I'm feeling really stressed out. This feels really imminent, like this is a really big problem. I'm noticing my heart rate is up, my breathing is really shallow, my muscles are tense and tight, my jaw maybe a little bit tight. So we get to actually do the opposite. And so a few practices, and we get to see for ourselves what that's like. A few practices are things like taking a deep breath. So your vagus nerve, it innervates the very base of your lungs. So it's the vagus nerve we want to activate. So when we take a deep breath, as we learn in yoga or any kind of breath work, you breathe from your belly, not from your chest. And really it's a visualization. You imagine, you can put your hand on your belly and you can actually feel your belly extend. And as you inhale, and then as you exhale, feel your belly contract. If you notice your shoulders rising or your chest expanding, you're breathing in a shallow way, which can trigger sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight. So we actually, and what I initially teach my clients to do, I give them breathing alarms. I know, crazy. Every hour on the hour during their day. And the reason for that is you can have this phenomenal breath work or meditation in the morning, which is a non-negotiable for me every day. You can have a fabulous gratitude practice, which makes you feel really good at night, which I know most of us aren't doing, but I highly recommend before you go to sleep, having a gratitude and a celebration practice just to bring your body to a place where it can really sleep well. But if you're spending the rest of those 15 hours between meditation and gratitude hijacked by your own body, you're dysregulated.
Yeah.
So I actually put my clients on a hourly breathing break where they, for 30 seconds, do this deep breath from the base of their lungs, extending their diaphragm, deep breath in and holding it, and then slowly exhale. And the only rule is encouraging your exhale to be slightly longer than your inhale. It's amazing. You
Yeah.
notice immediately the impact on your body. You notice if you're paying attention to your body, you immediately notice the calm. You can do this, I recommend, with your eyes closed because it just blocks out some extra visual information. You can incorporate some kind of a visualization. So just to give your mind something to do. So some of the things that I like to do are imagining, my most favorite recent one is a Ferris wheel. So you can imagine breathing in as the Ferris wheel, as you ride the Ferris wheel up. And then you hang out at the top as you hold your breath while they let someone off at the bottom. And then you picture the Ferris wheel
I
traveling
love
back
that.
down as you exhale. I know, is that a fun one?
It's fun.
And then you hang out down there while someone gets off. And then you take another deep breath in, this kind of very cyclical imagery.
Yeah.
And just
You just never get
notice,
off the Ferris wheel.
you just never get off. Yeah. I love that.
That was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, that's one really easy, effective way to
Yeah.
bring your body back down to calm. And you can do it, behind a mask in front of a patient. You can do it in conversation with somebody else. You can, if you notice you're having a little moment. I had one last night with my 17-year-old who refused to do the dishes. And I noticed my body went into this place because I'm very aware. I could just stand. He's telling me all the excuses he's got, and I'm picturing the Ferris wheel. And I'm just breathing to bring my body back down to calm so that my body doesn't think it's in a place of fight or flight. And then suddenly I was like, oh, he's just 17. He's just fighting for his own independence. He just doesn't want to be told what to do. I'm not a
You're doing
terrible.
the dishes anyway, but
Yeah, guess what?
we'll
It's not
get
the
there.
end of the world. We're going to be just fine. I
Yeah.
can make a new choice. I think so often the urgency steps in the way. We think there's something that
Right.
needs to be reacted on urgently. They
The
always say,
habitual responses.
exactly, these
Yeah.
habituated reactivity.
Mhm.
It's just the way I always am. And believe me, I used to live my life that way. I
Yeah.
used to live my life in habituated reactivity of just feeling frustrated and annoyed by everything around me and really feeling constantly like people were disappointing me or they weren't doing the job I needed them to do. They weren't, taking response. Why won't people just do their job? I used to say all the time. And
Yeah.
that was all from this place of just feeling like the world was against me because my body felt that way. And the moment I started regulating my body, my awareness came back. Oh, that's not what at all what's happening. He's not trying to manipulate me. He's 17. He's a 17-year-old who doesn't want to do the dishes. I'm not a terrible mom. He's not going to end up being
Right.
an abuser. I would have all these fears. And
Right.
regulating our bodies back into that place of being able to accurately assess the situation and then consciously choose a response in
Yes.
alignment with what we actually want to get out of this.
Oh my gosh, I love this.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, we could talk about this for 3 days
Yes.
solid, right? And there's so much here. I really appreciate that practical example of how we can incorporate it into our lives as well as our work. It's really an all day, every day. So much of this also ties into emotional intelligence, but that's like a whole nother, that's a whole nother ballgame. And we're getting
Well
short on
identified.
time.
You're so right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We're running short on time. So I have one more question for you as we wrap up. And then if there's anything that we haven't said that you want to pull in, now would be the time
Great.
before we wrap. I've heard you say that you believe this knowledge is a leadership superpower.
Yes.
Would you like to say anything about that?
Yes. I think that the more regulated we are as leaders, the better leaders we are. And not just leaders of our teams, but leaders of ourselves,
Yeah.
obviously. That's a really big deal. When we take better care of ourselves, and I mean now specifically in terms of nervous system regulation, which also requires downtime, it
Mhm.
requires rest, it requires clear boundary setting of when I'm closing the laptop and turning it off. It requires giving ourselves that space for rest and sleep. That is when we become good, conscious leaders. And here's what I believe so deeply about each of us is that no one wakes up in the morning saying, today I'm going to be a, can I use bad language on this podcast?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Today I'm going to be an asshole. No one wakes up that way. No one wakes up saying,
No.
today I'm going to be a tyrant leader. We wake up and there's a part of us that really wants to do great, good things in this world. I really believe that we're all trying our best. And when we start to see one another that way and we realize, oh my gosh, she's really just trying her best, but maybe she's in a dysregulated state that she never learned how to navigate or how to heal or how to feel safe in her body. I got this message years ago when I had a patient who she was so angry. She screamed and yelled in the reception area. She screamed, I'm going to tell my friends not to come back here. This is an awful office. I'm going to tell everyone is at the bus stop that they should never come to this practice. And I remember it bothered me so much. 4 years later, she came back as a patient herself. So in the first example, she was the mother of the patients. And then she came back as a patient herself. And she came back for this really big, aggressive treatment. And I said, I have to say to you, I'm surprised. You were so angry and didn't like our practice. Can you tell me what changed? Why are you so open and trusting? I'm so grateful. I'll take great care of you. But she said to me, "Oh, then I was going through a nasty divorce. I was just in a terrible place. I'm sorry. But anyway, can we please talk about my treatment?" And I realized, wow, none of us are trying to be jerks. None of
No.
us are trying to be aggressive leaders or, defeating leaders. We're all trying our best. And I think that learning this ability to bring your body back to calm allows us as leaders to be back in alignment with who we really want to be, with the impact we really want to make on the world. It just gets clouded for a while when your body is in this place of dysregulation and you biologically can't tap into that part of you, that higher self that has beautiful dreams and desires and love for other people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love that.
Mm.
Okay. If we want to learn more about programs or working with you, I heard you mention you do one-on-one coaching. It sounds like you have some coaching programs. The Biz of Happiness, it would be where we go. The
Yes.
bizofhappiness.com.
Bizofhappiness.com. Yep.
Awesome. Which I've got pulled up here. And your email is, would you give it to us?
Yeah. Tarryn at thebizofhappiness.com. Easy.
Awesome. Awesome. Which you also have your podcast, still with the Biz of Happiness, right?
Yeah, the
Um,
podcast is called The Business of Happiness. So the
Business
whole
of Happiness.
business of happiness. And it really is focused exclusively on how to tap into these practices to really bring you back to that place of alignment with who you really truly are underneath all the stress.
Mm. Thank you for doing this. And then you speak and help audiences. You have your group coaching. I think you have workshops even. I mean, you have a wide range of opportunities where we can learn more and with you as a guide. And
Yes.
Tarryn, thank you for sharing today and being here and sharing with our audiences. Is there one short, sharp final comment? We didn't script this. I'm just like throwing it at you. So I'll talk a second to give you a thought of like, what would you like to leave us with as we end our section of the meeting?
Yeah, I think I'll leave it with how I end every podcast episode, which is just the statement, when you feel good, you can do good. And I think that's such a beautiful summation because I think we've been telling ourselves that in order to do great things in the world, we need to feel stressed and overwhelmed and accomplished and overdoing. And it really is the exact opposite. When you feel good in your body is actually when you can make really beautiful choice and greater impact in the world.
Oh, love that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for participating today and bringing your expertise to
Thank
our.
you for having me. Thank you. Thank you.